cows, and she's going to tell you about all three of them and our girl here who's about to get milk. Good afternoon, and thank you for coming out and watching this. With me this afternoon are my parents, Ruby Bollinger and Daryl Bollinger. For a little bit of information about the cow, I'll start down here with this Holstein. Her name is Lady A. She is 4 years old, and we'll flip up here to the other one laying down. This is her mom, Angel Baby. Angel Baby was one of my very first 4-H projects, so I've had her since I was 10 years old, and she's traveled all across the state of Pennsylvania with me. And then the Jersey in the middle, standing up, is going to be our cow, which we will milk. Her name is Mio. Her full name is Cook Farm Vindication Mio Mai. I purchased her on a calf auction in 2010. And she will be 5 this year. So a little bit more about Mio. She is a Jersey. These other two laying down are Holsteins. She had a calf when she was 2 years old. In 2011, she had a heifer. In 2012, she had another heifer. And this past December, she had a bull calf. We did not keep him. We kept both the heifers. Mio is making 70 pounds of milk right now, and she has a 4.5% butter fat and a 4.0 protein. So those are the components in her milk which she's producing. Right now, Mio, as I said, she had a baby in December, so she is... about 5 months fresh, so that's why she's not carrying as much weight over her back here. Like you can see on the two laying down, they have a little bit more weight on them. That's because they've been milking a lot longer. We're getting ready to dry them off, and they'll have a resting period before they come back into milk for the year. Are there any questions about the cow right now? My mom just told me, they figured it out because they're good at math, that for 70 pounds of milk, she's making 8.1 gallons of milk right now, every day. So this cow, when she's not here, is kept in a freestall barn, so she has the opportunity to walk to her feed at a feed bunk, which would be from here to the food stand down there. That's about as far away from her as it gets, not much further than that, as well as she walks to her water. And then she is directed to the parlor in the mornings and in the evenings to be milked there. Oh, yeah, I was going to get before.
All right, we're going to prepare the cow for milking, and this is the procedure that we go through on every cow that's milked. When the cows come in the barn, which they all look as nice as this now, but they're usually not. So the cows come in and they've got sand or sawdust or whatever on their udder and their teeth. So there's usually kind of what we call a dry wipe. Everybody wears gloves that milks cows because bacteria can be in our hands and what have you, so we try to promote gloves for everybody. So they take kind of a dry wipe, and then what we do is the little bottle she has there has what we call a pre-dip solution in it. It's roughly about 0.5% iodine, and what we do is we go through and we dip her with that iodine onto the cow's teats, and then they swat the flies away, and then that dip should stay on the cows for roughly 15 to 30 seconds. So that to do an effective kill to her. After that's on there for that period of time, then we'll take a dry towel, and that's done different ways. A lot of customers now use a paper towel, or they use a washcloth, and they keep re-washing them and reusing them. So then they go through and they wipe that off, and they get in a circular motion going around, and then always make sure that they get the end of the cow's teats because that's where that bacteria kind of likes to hang. So then they try to do that. They tend to take 2 or 3 squirts out of each cow's quarters to try to get that maybe a little bit of off milk out of there first before we milk. And then that milking procedure starts to go. We always like to kind of wait a little bit longer from the time we prep the animal until we attach the milker unit. There's an oxytocin letdown for a cow that as soon as you start talking or handling her udder, there's a message from the brain through the bloodstream that lets the oxytocin come down to the cow's udder for her to let her milk down. So, and that's based a little bit on her stage of lactation. So the later in her days in milk, the longer she's been milking, the less milk she has, and then it takes a little bit longer for that milk to come out. So we like to let her wait a little bit. So obviously she's still milking pretty good, so the milk's on and ready to go. As that cow is being milked, there's vacuum level, there's vacuum and pulsation that creates the milk flow to come out with a little bit of air bleed. If you hear it get close enough, you can hear it leaking a little bit of air. And we always have to have that little bit of air bleed behind it to chase the milk away. So the vacuum level has around 13.5 inches of vacuum level is what we're milking at, because we need to maintain about a 12-inch vacuum level at the cow's teat end inside the inflation so it does not hurt her. So through regulators we can regulate all that stuff. So this is a very basic system called a bucket system here. Milk comes from the cow into a pail. When that's done, we'll detach it and take that pail and dump it out. In other conventional ways, there's pipelines where that milk comes from the cow's udder, comes up into a pipe up here, and gravity flows into the milk house where it's pumped into the tank. So there's no air being in contact with the milk. It's all gone through the mechanical process and right into a bulk tank for cooling. The milk coming out of a cow is roughly 95 degrees when it comes out of a cow. And our goal is to get it to below 40 degrees as fast as we can for quality. So it goes from here, it goes into a bulk tank for cooling, or what we have in place a lot of places is called a plate cooler, where there's milk going through one way and water going through the opposite way. And that'll take like 20 or 30 degrees off the milk really fast, or it can do a lot more than that if there's bigger setups. So, and it goes through for cooling and into the bulk tank, then the bulk tank finishes it off, so that when the customer's done milking, then the milk is just about cold for them to take it every other day. Well, let's see. They talked about this. Cows average somewhere 80, 100 pounds a day in milk for some of the animals, and that's 8.6 pounds to equals 1 gallon. So she does quite a bit. And she's just the gift that keeps on giving. We almost never can milk a cow dry. That as soon as we take it off, we could hand milk her and we'd still be getting some milk out of her. She just keeps producing milk. And cows are just great creatures of habit. They want to do the same thing over and over. They want to do everything the same, and they excel at that. You and I, we might get a little bored with that. Not a cow. She just, to see the same people and what have you, and that was what I was a little bit paranoid about bringing these gals in here, but they're well trained. So we're doing it. Now you'll see here how the milk flow is pretty well stopped. And so at this point we'll begin the process. Sometimes they hold down on them to finish a cow off, that her udder's got a little bit more, meat to it, if you will, than some. But traditionally it's when it gets down to a certain flow rate of milk, we shut the vacuum off and we take it off. And then she's all done. So now, as soon as the cow is done milking, what we like to do is we go back and dip the cow again, and this dip will stay on. There's different kinds of dip here, but that becomes maybe like a 1% type of iodine, and that gets put on to seal as the milk's open and the sphincter muscle on the teat is open, and within about 20 minutes that creates a plug in the end of the cow's teat. And so we want to get that end of that that teat dipped as soon as we can, so that when that comes back in, it has a more effective kill for her. And that's the day in the life for her as far as milking the cow goes. So she's done until 8 hours later. There's dairies that are on 3 or 4 milkings per day. So every 8 hours they're back milking again. These folks, I think, are on twice a day. Some of them, no. And so there's a lot of dairies around here. Of course, around this area we have a lot of the Amish, so they're smaller dairies, and they just milk twice a day. Every 12 hours they milk. So obviously, when you milk twice a day and you've got 12 hours of milk in there, her udder's much fuller than the cow that's in 8 hours. So we find it more beneficial to take some of that stress away and milk an animal in every 8 hours versus the 12. So we feel it does better. So quite a bit of a workload on the dairy farms, because they got to go through that process every 8 hours. So and that's what we do. We try to keep them as clean and dry as we can. That goes for better performance, less mastitis issues, less issues to deal with, and that's how it goes. So.
Yeah, it's supposed to be
Q&A time.
We have several dairy producers, like the Bolliners here, who are able to answer any questions you have. I've heard some questions about everything from why are they laying down, is it going to rain, to I didn't know they were so big. So who has a question? Is it going to rain? Let's ask that.
Okay. Hi, I'm Joel Crawl. We have a dairy in South Lebanon, about 20 miles from here. We milk 180 Holstein cows 3 times a day. Bed with sand bedding, and lying down is a really important part of a cow's daily routine. There's a lot of research that shows the more time a cow lays down, the more milk she can produce. Really, you want a cow either laying down, eating, drinking, or milking. You really don't want her doing too much else. That's the happiest cow and the most profitable cow. Whether it has to do with rain or not, I don't think that affects their laying down. They just, if it's comfortable, they want to lay down. That's why sand bedding is kind of considered gold standard for bedding for a cow to lay down on. And it's inorganic, so it keeps bacteria from growing, helps keep the milk from getting mastitis, them getting infections in their mammary system. Some things about a cow in order for a cow to make milk, she has to have a calf. You might not think about it, but it makes sense when you think about it. When a heifer is born, when she gets to 12 months of age, it's generally 12 to 13 months, they usually get impregnated so that they have a calf about 2 years old. And then when they have their first calf, they come into milk. And the average lifespan of a cow in a herd in the United States is about 2.5 lactations. But cows have been known to live up to 20 years old. And cows in general have been getting bigger with today's genetics, and which sometimes is a bad thing in a commercial environment.